Now comes the main part. How do we create virtual service? Most popular way, if you ask me, is creating from API definition file. So you can create from spec in the existing project. You can create from resource paths. You can create using recording. You can clone an existing virtual service, or you can generate virtual service basis existing information. So these are the various ways. And believe me, each one of this is something which you can try out with the pro version of trial that you have. Now let's try to go through what all are the different ways of creating virtual service. Now this will be not actual service creation, but yes, it will help us to understand how we can create services, what all are the primary steps that we need to follow in order to create the services. So I'll take you to that particular part where we will see how actually we can manage it. I'll end the show and here. So let me first create a project. I'll start from beginning so that we can see. Mine is 14 days left. I'll go and create a project. So I'll select file, new empty project. Once I create project, I get this. I can right click, manage the control here. See, all these are there which we can do from here itself inside the project. A much easier option is you can go to my workspace. And on my workspace, you will get direct options of creating what actually you want to create. Fine. Let me go through the steps so that we understand. See, there are many ways. It's UI. So same task can be done using multiple different ways. So let's explore this particular part first, and then we will go through rest of them as well. Fine. So you have created a project. Now, as I told you that right click and you can rename the project. I'll go and type here and I'll say this is not my project. I'll say demo project. I'm not taking sample project here. Now I took demo project. I clicked on it. Now here I have API. Now understand, this is not virtualized API. You want to test an existing API. Functional test. You want to build functional test. Security test. You want to define security test for vulnerabilities. What all are the vulnerabilities that actually you want? You see, all these are vulnerabilities. Single request, URL. These are the like XPath injection, cross-site scripting, fuzzing scan, invalid type. All these are different test cases that you can add for security test. Performance test. If you see create load test, launch performance test runner. So these are something which is specifically non-virtualized. It's not related to virtualization, right? Now for virtualization, what we need is we need to go to APIs virtual. I'll click on it. Now, once I click on it, it shows me current virtual servers are 0. There are no virtual servers. And if you see here, virtual service, transaction log, activity, metrics, all this you get. I'm not going to talk about this as of now. I want to create a service. Right click on this. I have here 3 different ways. One is new virtual service, second is discover virtual service, and third is import virtual service. Let me go with new virtual service. Now, when I go to new virtual service, it is saying, tell me, do you want it to create using some definition? What all are the possible definitions? WSDL, Web Service Description Language, WADL, Swagger or OpenAPI. You go to empty SOAP, empty REST, JMS, JDBC, TCP. So depending on type of service that you want to create, it will give you the options. I can go with the definition file. Fine. Now you need to have a Swagger or OpenAPI, or you need to have a WSDL file. Let me go and try locating some WSDL file here. So I'll say weather API WSDL download. I'll take it from here. Now this is what is my SOAP. I'll say edit. Let me copy this from here if I can. I can actually clone it in my system also for test, but I'm just trying to show you here now how actually we'll take. I'll go to my editor. You can put it in Notepad also, not a big deal. I'll go to resources, new, others, I'll say file. I want file. Though you will have WSDL here as well. You see. Next. I can use any site. 1 second. I'm using this site. This is not a complete process. I have something for you where step by step it is there. You can do it. Let's explore the options first. I'm just trying to tell you how actually we'll explore, how actually we'll create. I'll give you some meaningful files also. This is my WSDL. You can use any WSDL. This is not a particular WSDL that you have to use. You can use any WSDL. There are plenty of sample WSDLs which are available. I'll save it. I'll go to design. Now this shows me the design. Now this I'm doing it in Eclipse only. This is what is my weather service. And this is just specification. It is nothing else. It's just specification. I'll copy this file. I'll go and I'll store it somewhere on desktop. So I have just copied this particular file. This one I have to copy, right? I'll just paste it. So this is new WSDL file is the file. I'll go here. I'll say OK. And now I have to specify the location. So let me try using that location, endpoint location first. I'll go to this and I'll say, boss, use this location. Let's see if it is open. It should work. So I've specified this location here. Click on OK. Now it is loading the definition, but you see, you get error, cross origin, because it's a URL and it depends on how actually that site is created. So I'll go here to desktop, go to testing. I'll select this, click on open, and hopefully it should work now. Now you see your definition contains more than one interface. We will create a separate web service for each interface. It says, okay. So it is creating now these three: get city forecast by zip, get city. These are the operations. And if you see virtual service is this, and these are the operations. Add the virtual service to the service endpoint. I'll say okay. And port also it selects. If you remember, when you were creating mock server, you are specifying all these details. Now this get city is nothing but it is your configuration which you have done for your mock service in WireMock. I'll click on OK. Once I click on OK, I'll get my service created. Now this is the second one. So it creates these services. If you see get city forecast by zip, and this is what is dispatch style, response you need to add. This is how you can go ahead and you can quickly get specification from API and create your virtual APIs. This is what is the detail. You can click on show logs. It shows you the log and it says that, see, finding importer from here. This is HTTP log. This is Jetty log. All these are log information. So I told, unless you don't know what actually you are going to do, it will be difficult for you to figure out the steps. So if you see, there are two services here. One is at 8088. Second one is at 8089. I'll click on the first one. Now it is running. Now when it is running, tests can be done. So whenever any developer is asking for this method call, he need to first write a SOAP client. Consumers of your virtual service will be able to consume this service at this endpoint. This is what is the options which they can use. In order to further understand it better, any developer who is writing client can generate client stuff from this. Now this is another area of study itself. So your developers will do what? They will use this WSDL file and they will generate client code out of it. They can generate client code. You have web services which can, for example, I'll just show you. This is just for demonstration purpose. See, your objective of virtualizing service from SOAP is done. Now your service is running. Your task is done. Now, what you need to do, you need to intercept how many calls are done, what is the transaction log, incoming, outgoing, what is behavior, server capacity. You can go and you can. So all this is now your queue. As a QA, you will be doing. You don't need to worry about how client will be invoking it. I'm writing now the test. I'm the developer. I want to test my logic, which needs weather service. I don't want to directly connect to weather service because I'll be charged. So I created a service here. I started it, and then my developers will be able to write. So for example, it takes me back to days of web service. I'll just right click here, new. And if you see others, I'll go to web service client. I'll click on next. Now you see, I'm generating client, and same thing developers will do. Yeah, you provided them the virtual service with the expected behavior. Now developers have to go and generate the client stub and start testing their code. I'll just click on finish just to show you. Now you see client is generated here. You will have client code which will be generated from this WSDL file. So it depends that what actually you have to do as a service virtualization QA. Now you see here is the client. Entire code is generated. You see. So this will not be done by you, understand. This will be done by the developer who is now writing the test for their service, which was dependent on weather API. This is not your Go. I mean to say you can write web service client in any language because WSDL is a standard. So this was one example. I can go and I can stop the service. So this was the case of SOAP. Now I'll go again here, right click, new virtual service. Now let me go and select here. We'll go with Swagger. A WADL is for REST API. So let me see if I can get some WADL. This is just the creation process I'm telling you. Let me take this. Any one of them. I'm just trying to see. Now this is WADL file. See, this is called as Web Application Description Language file. And this is all about resource, that is REST. I'll just copy this file and we'll go ahead with there. Copy. Again, I'll go to my Eclipse. I'm just making my Eclipse dirty a bit. I'll directly create a new others file. Next. Sample.wadl. Finish. I'll just create it, copy it, go to the same folder. I'll share all these files with you so that you can try at your end. I'll give you some time to explore because see, it's all about exploring. Okay, browse, sample WDDL, click open, create a test suite. I create a test suite for the imported WADL. You can create test suite also. Let's not go there. As of now, creating the virtual service, click OK. Content is not allowed in Prolog. Some error is there in line number 1. So I'll go to my file here and I'll see what is the error. Okay, here is the error. I'll save it. I'll take the file, go here, paste it, doing redundant task, but come to my REST. Okay, browse, sample WADL, click on open, click on OK. Let's see. Now see, it tells me you have get/container, put delete get, put delete get. When you're virtualizing, as of now, we are creating virtual services. Responses we have to go and we have to add. Now see, this is what is there. As of now, there are no response. So we have to go and we have to click on add, specify a name for the raw response. Okay. You can add as many as responses you want. You can go and you can specify. So we'll come to this bit later, but this is how you will be creating it. Service 1, you have get storage container. All these are now virtualized. I can go and I can click on start. Once I start, I have this REST service available with me. It's running now. You can go and you can confirm it from log as well. You can confirm it from HTTP log, JT log, depends what server is started. In case if errors are there, script logs, performance log, all these are different type of logs that you can use. So this is how you will virtualize a service using REST. I'll shut it down. Let's go with the next one. So all these are your local virtual services. As of now, we are seeing capability of creating the virtual services and then coming up with a response. How do we add the response? That also we will see. So it's the same process that you will follow. Let's go and see some from empty JDBC also. Click on OK. Click on OK. Once we click on OK, you see it gives me capability of setting up JDBC. Now enable routing to build JDBC virtual service via JDBC interaction. These are the JDBC properties which are there. I'll just go and select it, right click and click on start. Now you see, I don't have JDBC, but it provided me a JDBC virtual service. And this is what is the endpoint. Now here also what we have to set dummy tables and other things. But if you see, same thing if I'll ask you to do in WireMock or some others, you'll find it a bit difficult. Here it is intelligent enough to provide you the endpoint as per your choice. I mean to say as per your requirement. You can define the port also. This is minimum set of properties. See, we never did anything here. We never specified endpoint URL or anything. I'll click on stop. Now let's go and see the JMS one as well, because that is something which is prominently used. I'll go with empty JMS. I'll say OK. Now JMS name you can give whatever you want. Now what it did? It created a virtual JMS server. That service must have at least one JMS route. So we have to go and we have to configure one JMS route so that messages can be put. So I'll just go right click, click on JMS route, select JMS server if you want. I can click on create new, specify. For example, I'm saying MQ. Click OK. These are the parameters that you have to set. So I'll just go and write, say, full name of the initial context. I'll say webfair MQ. Provider URL, TCP, localhost, something I'll write. Username, I'll say admin. Password, I'll say admin. And whatever other properties are there that you can specify. I'll say OK. So we have to specify JNDI of this. Now you need to know about it. You need to know about it. When I say you need to know what is JNDI. So JNDI is used for lookup. So I'll say MQ test, MQ sender. So whoever is virtualizing, they need to be good in this. Okay. They need to be good. When I say they need to be good in understanding how do they configure middleware. I'll click on start. Could not start. Make sure that you put your JMS library to the pin. Okay, fine. I'll configure it later. I mean to say we need to be aware about the JMS part that we are going to configure. So we need to go and put some library. We will do that. So steps are clear. If I say that steps of creating virtual service is clear, using various different sources, I'll just delete all. I don't need them because they are not actual cases that we are planning. So any confusion so far? I mean to say for creating. I think it's running. These are the APIs which are created for this. So when I make request, depending on the request, if I click on send, it will generate response depending on whatever we have specified. So once services are there, click on new request. I have deleted the virtual service. I will just specify some zip. I don't know whether this zip is there or not. Click on send. It's trying to run, trying to locate for this zip. This is the actual one. I'll delete the demo project. These are the different ways of creating virtual services. What we need the definition file, we need WSDL file. Apart from that, we can go ahead with recording from a new virtual API wizard we can use. So we can use recording from older school also, like we used to use Discovery API there. So these are some of the ways in which we can quickly come up with creating virtual service using ReadyAPI. So before I give control to you and see in case if you all are able to do it or not, let's move forward and see configuration part. This was the creating virtual service. We are clear, right? In how do we create virtual service? Different ways. I'm not talking about end to end. We haven't yet configured our virtual service. We just saw how do we create virtual API there. Now, these are the various definition files that can be used. This is one way. These definition files we have seen: OpenAPI, Swagger, WADL, WSDL, or any web service that exists in your project. What is required is the interface. The web service interface is something which is required. You give that to your ReadyAPI, and ReadyAPI will quickly virtualize and give you an endpoint. Now you need to go and configure that virtual service. When I say configure that virtual service, it means I'm going to do the mapping now. You can create REST project, performance project, visualization project, authentication. These are the samples. You can add samples, but don't add sample. I'll not suggest you because you'll get confused as of now. I'm not suggesting you to add samples. Apart from this, you see, you can automate test using CI/CD tool, including Jenkins and others. It contains good samples, like say Kafka, more samples you want. These are the samples which actually you can use. See, this shows how to use data source, and I want you to actually focus on this more. But since our objective is virtualization, this is what is something which we have to work with, and that's what I wanted to give you as well. Virtualization. So it takes 3-4 days to complete all this with bit and bit, and believe me, you will not remember all the options also once you are done. So what I suggest you, what is there? Project is there, workspace is there. I'll click here. From workspace, I can create this
empty project or virtual service.
Yes, virtualization project. Now here we have created empty project. And why we created empty project? Because we wanted to see how an empty project can be used in order to create a virtual project. My role is to ensure that we are able to explore and we are able to see different options. And dependency here, if you are talking about virtualization, is how well you know definition files, WSDL file, then WADL file, then your understanding of OpenAPI, your understanding of JMS, your understanding of other protocols. Because when you go and create response or configure response, there you need to know that what should be the grammar of the response. For example, if I go here and open my WSDL, you will find here it tells this is input and this is output. Now I'll click here. It will show me what it contains, weather description. It's an array of weather description. So for every request, they will have a type here. So we need to be aware about the WSDL and also XSD if we are dealing with SOAP based web service. Else, I request you to do good study in OpenAPI specification. And that is what I'll try to discuss as well. So using the tool is not big deal. Your understanding about the service which you are going to virtualize, even if you are not coding, but you need to be aware about the wrapper, the property, the settings, how actually data source will be implemented, what calls, what behavior settings are there that you have to do. Your focus should be more there.